Come 2016, DC began to realize that the infamous New 52 relaunch had turned into something of a debacle. To that end, they started a new relaunch called DC Rebirth, which basically acted as a do-over to get things back to somewhat close to normal.
Some of the changes included both Action Comics and Detective Comics reverting to their original numbering as both series were nearing issue 1000, the Wally West Flash appearing and returning the lost memories of his existence to Barry Allen and the Titans. Then there was the biggie, that characters from the seminal series Watchmen would cross over into this new universe known as Prime Earth.
However, most pertinent to what we're covering today is the fact that the New 52 Superman and Lois Lane apparently died and were suddenly replaced by their original DC Universe counterparts who crossed over to Prime Earth with their son Jonathan. That being said, there was still kind of a brief time where the world did not have a Superman, so DC would look to other lands for a Man of Tomorrow.
To be more precise, China would get its own Superman, or Superman with a hyphen. Although man might be a bit of a stretch here, seeing as the character, one Kong Kanan, is 17 years old. Also remember that in many Eastern cultures, the family name tends to come before the birth name, so in this case, his name in America would probably be Kanan Kong.
Also, I'd like to apologize if I wind up butchering the pronunciation of any of these names. My Mandarin is spotty at best. But to that end, today we're looking at the first steps that Kong Kanan is taking towards becoming the flagship superhero of China. Sort of. I'll explain later. This is New Superman Volume 1, Made in China.
Young Li Shen Luo runs down an alleyway from a bully. It's here you're probably expecting Kong Kanan to intercede. There's just one problem. Kanan is the bully. After swiping the young lad's soft drink, Li Shen tries to flee, only to be grabbed by none other than Blue Condor, one of Shanghai's top supervillains. Kanan initially freezes until deciding that whatever problems he has with Li Shen, the husky teen doesn't deserve this, and throws his soda can at the Condor. This enables Li Shen to escape and later reward Kanan with cash. It's then that a side benefit arises. It turns out the incident was recorded by none other than Lanny Lan, reporter for Primetime Shanghai, and the video already has 500,000 views, and she'd like an interview. Immediately smitten with the plucky reporter, Kanan makes plans for a later interview and gives a quick fluff piece. The initial interview catches the attention of some scientists as news of Kanan's heroism begins to spread. One of the people who's not impressed is Kanan's father, Kong Zhandan, who believes the news to be a puppet extension of a government group called the Ministry of Self-Reliance. He and his writers group are ready to publish a tell-all report that will hopefully push China in a more democratic direction. And to him, that's way more important than televised glory.
Also, Luo Li Xin is the son of the CEO of a major airline company that Zhangdan also believes to be a front for the Ministry of Self-Reliance, and he blames for the death of his wife in a mysterious plane crash.
Kanan slinks away to his mother's grave, and it's there that a woman approaches him. She's not a reporter, though. She's Dr. Omen, chief scientist for the Ministry of Self-Reliance. Dr. Omen wants to give China the one thing it's truly lacked, a Superman of its own, and they feel that Kanan is the ideal candidate. Kanan is then taken back to the Ministry's headquarters at
Okay, so I do believe this is the proper application of that term. I mean, the writer of this series, Jean Luen Yang, is in fact Chinese, but just to be on the safe side, I'm only going to call the place Pearl Tower.
Kanan is placed in a special containment suit and told to enter a chamber where he's blasted with energy. As everything flows through him, Kanan dreams about rescuing his mother, and then suddenly bursts out of the chamber. It's then that Kanan notices that he's flying. That's followed by the accidental heat vision blast towards the office. He's still a little rambunctious, so backup is called in the form of the Batman and Wonder Woman of China.
The Batman of China is a tech prodigy named Wang Baishi, who was recruited to the ministry after he hacked into several of their security measures. The Wonder Woman of China is Peng De Lan, a snake deity from the early days of Buddhism, who was imprisoned for centuries until the ministry freed her.
Kanan tries playing nice, even flirting with Wonder Woman, but he just gets his butt kicked. When Kanan attempts fighting back, his powers suddenly begin futzing out. He can't fly anymore, but he's still able to lift heavy machinery with ease. Finally, Dr. Omen calls things off. The group must learn to work together if they are to become the Justice League of China. Kanan points out that China already has a super team to defend it, as Dr. Omen uses her smartwatch to place a cover call to Zhang Dan.
Okay, Kanan is referring to a group called the Great Ten, which is an actual branch of the Chinese government that is staffed with superheroes with perfectly literate translation names like August Iron General and Accomplished Perfect Physician. Now, the Great Ten debuted in the acclaimed weekly event storyline known as 52.
Kanan can't leave as they don't know what's going on with his powers, which are completely gone at this point. To that end, he's given a visor that effectively acts as a shock collar should they somehow return without some form of control. While he waits things out, Kanan must study the actions of Superman to learn what a real hero is all about. That all changes when one of China's tech moguls, who also happens to fund the Ministry of Self-Reliance, has her home broken into and her daughter taken hostage. Security cameras show a villain named Sunbeam holding the family at gunpoint. Kanan demands to accompany Batman and Wonder Woman, and after many shocks, Dr. Omen eventually acquiesces. The two more experienced heroes tell Kanan to wait in the Bat Utility Vehicle, or BUV, while they try to capture Sunbeam. Wonder Woman eventually gets the child out unharmed and leaves it in Kanan's care. However, Sunbeam comes flying out through a window, leaving Kanan no other choice but to act. Kanan takes a full solar cannon blast to the face that was intended for the toddler. This seems to reactivate his powers, so he easily smashes Sunbeam's solar cannon and takes the villain down. Funny thing, though, all of this was recorded by Lani Lan, who immediately recognizes Kanan. Feeling there's no other way to possibly conceal his identity, Kanan proudly proclaims himself the new Superman of China. This greatly upsets Batman, Wonder Woman, the Ministry, and Zhang Dan, who immediately begins to worry about his writers group.
Gee, do you think Zhang Dan may possibly be hiding something?
Omen orders Batman and Wonder Woman to bring Kanan back to the Pearl immediately, so they drag him away mid-interview. First, though, the group needs to head over towards the Ministry's subaquatic prison, the Crab Shell, to drop off Sunbeam. Everyone is upset with Kanan for blabbing his, and by some extension everyone else's, secret identities. He sheepishly tries to pass off the fact that he's infatuated with Lani Lan as the reason why he did this, as one of the prisoners secretly recognizes Kanan. Back at Pearl Tower, Dr. Omen is getting torn a new one by August Iron General, who can't seem to recall the Zhangnan Hai, or central government, allowing for the formation of a Justice League of China. Basically, it's rein everyone, i.e. con Kanan in, or face real problems. As a result, Kanan gets introduced to his new compliance device, a kryptonite gas gun. Sometime later, both Delan and Baishi come over to his still smarting Kanan as he goes over more Superman footage. There's some bonding that takes place, as even Batman and Wonder Woman admit the transition to this lifestyle has been rather difficult for them as well. But Dr. Omen's point about Zhang Dan and the family auto repair shop being exposed to any possible threat begins to ring a little bit more true to Kanan. However, Baishi has turned something up. The people being targeted by these new Chinese supervillains happen to be major donors to the Ministry of Self-Reliance. The evidence points to the next target being a marine biologist named Zheng Shaqiang. The group elects to go against protocol and stake out Zheng's office to hopefully catch any attack before it happens. Unfortunately, not all of Kanan's powers are back yet, meaning Wonder Woman has to give it a lift. Batman theorizes that more exposure to the sun will revitalize more of Kanan's abilities, a la the real Superman, as the trio is confronted by Zheng, who mistakes them for his attackers. So much so that he immediately begins activating the security system, a massive sea hydra-like creature called a Zhonglu.
Once more, I'd like to apologize if I've mangled any of these pronunciations.
Much like its Greek counterpart, the Zhonglu has extremely toxic blood that's so toxic that it's poison even to the Zhonglu. To that end, the Justice League of China is able to use the creature's blood to blind several of the serpent's heads. However, this has allowed Dr. Zheng to be taken hostage by Blue Condor and several others.
This group is called the Freedom Fighters of China, and yes, they are based on another American superhero team. Freedom Fighters of China members include Flying Dragon General, Ghost Woman, Blue Condor, Sunbeam, and a few others we'll meet later.
Blue Condor uses his air manipulation abilities to begin strangling Kanan, as his powers seem to have gone on the fritz again. However, Batman and Wonder Woman are able to come to Kanan's aid. It's only when Kanan quite literally begins turning blue that Flying Dragon General begins calling things off. Kanan proceeds to go after Dragon General, allowing Zheng to escape. Again, though, Flying Dragon General holds back and points out that the real Superman fought democracy, the greater whole, and the Ministry of Self-Reliance is not to be trusted. The Flying Dragon General then leaves, leaving several of his compatriots behind.
I can't help but wonder why Flying Dragon General is holding back so much. Do you think he may possibly be hiding something?
The trio drop off Ghost Woman and Blue Condor at the Crab Shell and then head back to Pearl Tower where they find Dr. Omen speaking with Lani Lan. It turns out that Kanan's constant shenanigans have caused her to turn everything into a puff piece to make the new team look good. The trio play nice for the camera, but Kanan is more concerned than ever about his father's safety. Kanan asks to be allowed to check in on his father, and Dr. Omen only relents when Bai Shi and Delan promise to monitor the situation. Kanan returns home to find Kong Jandan, or should I say, Flying Dragon General, waiting for him. Back at the Crab Shell, Ghost Woman initiates a new plan, coughing up a hidden freedom fighter named Folding Paper Ninja, who manages to take out the guards and begins freeing the inmates. This includes the former leader of the Freedom Fighters of China, known as the Human Firecracker. Everyone can't leave just yet, as the Human Firecracker knows of the perfect weapon to bring down the Chinese government once and for all.
That would in fact be a genetically modified version of longtime Justice League foe Starro the Conqueror, aka the villain from James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Now, Starro is an alien starfish that usually floats above our world, reproduces asexually to send those little babies down to Earth to connect to people and thus control them via a massive telepathic link. This genetically modified Starro, or GMS, is much smaller and can be controlled from one central hub, thus allowing for a more powerful and localized intelligence.
Zhang Dan apologizes to Kanan. He never had much time to properly explain things to him, which in turn was exacerbated by the death of his wife, Kong Mei Tai. This all went back to his college years when Zhang Dan and his younger brother Zhang Lu fell in with a group of radicals. Zhang Lu was a bit more fiery than Zhang Dan, mainly due to the latter just joining to impress Mei Tai. Slowly, though, Zhang Dan came to believe in the ideals of democracy and eventually won over Mei Tai.
And yes, in case you are wondering, Zhang Lu is in fact the Human Firecracker.
That changed when the couple married and Mei Tai became pregnant with Kanan. Zhang Lun wanted to keep fighting, but family safety became more important to the newlyweds and they left the group, leading to the brothers' estrangement. That is until one day, a few years later, when Zhang Lun emailed some videos of the Justice League. The images of mostly American superheroes spurred Mei Tai to take up the cause once more. The group became heroic freedom fighters, with Mei Tai calling herself the Liberty Goddess. Then, 2 months later, Mei Tai's life was taken in what was dubbed a plane accident. However, Zhang Dun claims that he has proof the plane crash was no accident, but his story is interrupted by the news of the crab shell breakout taking place. Father and son elect to ride together and join the battle, much to the shock of Batman and Wonder Woman. Back at Pearl Tower, the Great Ten take the Ministry to task for what appears to be another failure, especially over the GMS, and intend to join the fray as well. At the battle, Kanan is forced to stand up to his friends, which allows the Human Firecracker to attach Starro pieces to them. He then places the main GMS on himself, meaning he now has control over all Starros. This has been the Human Firecracker's plan all along, to crash the central government in Beijing and take over them with the GMS, forcing democracy upon the whole government. This leaves Flying Dragon General aghast, as this was not part of the plan at all.
Not to mention, isn't completely losing your individuality and conforming to one supreme norm arguably more communist?
Kanan tries to talk his newfound uncle down, but the Human Firecracker just sicks the rest of the freedom fighters on him. All but one, that is, Flying Dragon General. Kanan prepares to fight back, only for his powers to glitch out again, and he just gets blasted out to sea. As he slowly begins to sink, Kanan's father grabs him and takes him back to the only place that can help him, the Ministry of Self-Reliance. As everyone works to save Kanan, the freedom fighters take over a plane owned by the family of Luo Lishen. Lishen just happens to be on board the plane, but he's not one of the passengers who ends up getting possessed by the GMS as they prepare to crash into the central government.
I don't exactly know how the GMS is supposed to possess everyone when it's been blown up in a fiery plane crash, but, okay.
Back at Pearl Tower, Dr. Omen's assistant Ming Ming attempts to recharge a now conscious Kanan with a solar energy cannon, but to no avail. It's then that the 17-year-old science prodigy suggests a more mystical route, using Tai Chi to focus Kanan's ki, which will probably allow him to access his powers individually. Zhang Dan apologizes to his son, but not the Ministry, as the two prepare to halt the freedom fighters with as little death as possible. Dr. Omen won't let them off that easy, though, as she places an incendiary device on Zhang Dan's chest to ensure compliance. On the plane, the other freedom fighters begin to have doubts as news breaks of the Big Ten preparing to launch an attack. I mean, just because the freedom fighters are willing to die for their cause doesn't necessarily mean they need to die for their cause, right? They soon find themselves being possessed by the GMS. Kanan and Zhang Dan's stealth plane arrives on the scene, and Kanan attempts focusing his ki to break in. It goes about as well as you would think.
I'm okay.
Father and son enter the plane via the airlock as Kanan's key finally begins to work, and they now mow through several of the possessed freedom fighters, but stall out at Batman and Wonder Woman. It's then they receive an unlikely assist from a non-possessed Li Shin, who tricks Batman into falling into the ice maker, immediately killing the Starro. Batman then manages to hack into the plane's automated ventilation system, which cools everything down to kill all the Starros. The non-Zhonglun freedom fighters are then unwillingly forced to join forces with the Justice League of China to hold off the Great Ten, while Kanan and Zhongdan take down Zhonglun. However, the uncle has one more trick up his sleeve, as it turns out he set them up the bomb, determined to take down the central government one way or the other.
Once more, I think I have to call our villain's plan into question here, as I'm fairly certain any high-ranking government officials would not be at the central government facilities, but rather be transported to various safe houses around Beijing.
Zhongdan intercedes and leaps onto his brother, activating the compliance device and causing it to go off in the process. The other heroes all rally to get Flying Dragon General to a hospital, but it's not enough, and Zhongdan apologizes to Khan and makes his son promise to fight for something more than just himself if he's going to truly be a superhero. Sometime afterwards, Kanan stands at his parents' graves alongside Bai Shi and Dai Lang. Kanan explains to his new friends what his father told him about his mother's death. The trio promise to find out exactly what happened with or without the Ministry of Self-Reliance's help. If they are truly going to become the Justice League of China, they need to work not for the Ministry, not even the Chinese government. They need to work for the Chinese people. However, it turns out there's more to this than anyone knows, as Dr. Omen makes her way to the basement of Pearl Tower. There, Zhongdan's body is being kept in suspended animation. Dr. Omen, or should I say, Kong Mei Tai, will do everything to ensure their family stays together no matter what.
And that concludes our look at New Superman Volume 1, Made in China. How was it? Well, I think there's a lot to like here. I do think there's a good supporting cast. There's some good characterization throughout all of this. Decent artwork. And I do kind of like a lot of the nice pathos that comes Kanan's way. I mean, you see him as a jerk, but then you see him slowly start to learn how to be an actual superhero. And it's nice to see, like, Bai Shi and Dai Lan also helping him along the way. And in fact, I think the final twist is pretty darn good. Now, while that final twist is pretty darn good, unfortunately, the other major twists I think are seen coming a mile away. I mean, Zhongdan obviously being like some sort of subversive supervillain is pretty much tipped right off the bat. So, yeah, it doesn't seem like that big a revelation when that comes true, really. So, yeah, it's just kind of disappointing in that aspect. And well, again, I pointed this out earlier. Yeah, the main thrust of the supervillain is, it's kind of stupid, right? Like, I pointed out the flaws. I mean, this wouldn't succeed in taking over the Chinese government. All it would do is get a bunch of innocent bystanders killed. It just, really rings a little hollow. Sorry. Also, there's a couple of weird points. Like, I get the idea of doing a Chinese Superman, but does it literally have to be a Chinese Superman? I mean, his girlfriend has to be Lanny Lan. There's a few other things, too, where it's just like, really? Like, you're maybe a little too obvious in your analogies, okay? Like, you could have differentiated a couple of things here and there, but still, it's not that bad. In fact, I highly recommend this. I think it's a good jumping on point. I am going to give New Superman Volume 1, Made in China, a B. And with that, let's see what we'll be doing next time on the Random Trade Review.
Remember, you can help support my channel at patreon.com/sleepytime for Cat Productions. There, you can request a trade to be put in the randomizer, aka the cardboard box. Also, remember, like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.